Hello to everyone. Zdraví. And ladies and gentlemen, today I stay in front of you not just a representative of Ukrainian Ministry of Social Policy. I stay thank you. But as a father of two children who often take refuge in Kiev bomb shelters, as a son whose parents live in Zaporizhia, 30 kilometers near front line, as one of the millions of Ukrainians who remain standing strong despite the daily challenge we faced. Experience of my family is not unique. They are shared by countless families across Ukraine. And it's this shared experience that drives our work in Ministry of Social Policy, pushing us to innovate and adapt our social services to efficiently meet the needs of our people. The facts are clear. Ukrainian social support system has faced its biggest challenges in over the century and stood strong. Let me briefly explain how digitalization of social support is helping us in these times. A few years ago, we were still dealing with outdated and fragmented post-Soviet social IT system in social sector. Beyond internal operation inefficiencies, this system is very inconvenient for our citizens. To receive social support, they had to apply in person, only in their place of registration, only in paper form, and the speed of processing, subjectivity, and quality of decisions were nearly impossible to monitor. In 2021, we began to build the unified informational system of social sphere. With the unified social register is a core element. This has enabled us to provide social support in client-oriented and comprehensive manner. People can now request support from anywhere in the world through multiple channels via the DIA application, the portal, or in person. The implementation of digital platform also includes transparency elements for public, allowing real-time monitoring of the effectiveness of government programs, which helps prevent abuse and improve citizen trust in public communication. This system is designed to support and restore human capital, which is always the most valuable asset, especially during times of war. After all, it's the people who protect the country, it's the people who drive its recovery. That's why we continue to develop the system, prioritizing social services over payment, ensuring protection for people with disability, facilitation adoption process, engaging cybersecurity, and enabling automatic decision-making in face of manpower shortage. On this slide, you can see the biggest challenges of war poses for the social support system in Ukraine. First challenge, it's a mass displacement and evacuation. Millions of Ukrainians have been forced to flee their homes, their lives uprooted by Russian unprovoked invasion. In the face of such adversity, we refused to be paralyzed. Instead, we innovated. And this is one example. New system allowed us to uphold the principle of exterritorial service delivery for all citizens across the country. We are able to swiftly register internal displaced persons and provide them with social payments and services. To ensure orphans grow up in families, we are working to reform the adoption process. It can now be initiated online, starting with the consultation and registration as a prospective adoptive parent. Housing subsidies and social benefits for families with children and adoptive parents are now available online too. Second challenge, mental health. We are starting to take care of our mental health. And on the initiative of the First Lady, Olena Zelenska, we have created an entire care system called How Are You? The first line of support is the new social service of resilience development and psychological support. Our resilience centers providing psychological support, psychological first aid, and other vital services. Let me show you in the video how the new resilience centers are becoming hubs of recovery and place of strength in communities across the country. Please play this video, if it works. With audio, please. Okay, without audio, but with subtitles. It's not bad. We open more than 200 this center like this around Ukraine. Third challenges, it's about militarization of society and active hostilities. Our defenders have fought for our freedom, and their reintegration is top priority. We have launched the Social Recovery for Veterans and Families program, a week-long initiative at health resorts where veterans and their families receive support from psychologists, social workers, and educators. Let me show you in a video.
Program tailored for veterans.
I think that accessibility is very important. Now we are, as people who don't hear any audio, can read these subtitles. And thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I think that we can go ahead. Yeah. By working for the people, we have started to gain international recognition for our solutions. We're ready to share our experience so that solutions tested in Ukraine can help globally. Today, Ukraine is a perfect sandbox for new solutions, new technologies in different spheres, in social sphere, in military sphere, and we attract the partners to work closely together. And this autumn, we start to work as a members of European Social Network. We couldn't have achieved this without support of our partners, without your support. Now, to keep moving forward, we need help in further developing digital systems, building homes for foster families, and established recovery centers. A two-way exchange of experience, both in Ukraine and abroad, is valuable for our social workers and those eager to learn from our experience. And this part of speech is most important for me, because I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to the Bulgarian people for your military and humanitarian support, for your solidarity, for your standing with us. Благодаря. Слава Україні! Thank you.
Round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, one more time for the Deputy Minister. Thank you so much. This conference is designed to promote dialogue and interaction. So I'm going to invite a very special guest to join Kostiantyn on the podium today. Professor Tudor Tegerev. Professor Tegerev, please, is the head of the Center for Security and Defense Management, the Institute of Information and Communication Technologies at the Bulgarian Academy of Sciences. He has served twice as a defense minister in Bulgaria, and after serving as an officer in Bulgaria's Air Force in 1994, Dr. Tegerev embarked on a civilian career involving several transitions between academia and defense. He holds a PhD degree in 1989 and has been an associate professor and a full professor. Professor Tegerev has considerable experience in leading and participating in national and international interdisciplinary research teams in security and defense policy planning, crisis management, and cybersecurity. I wish to also invite Dr. Antonio Garcia, who is going to be the moderator for this session. Dr. Garcia is a historian and author with academic affiliations with Stellenbosch University in South Africa, and Durham University and the Open University in the United Kingdom. He has written on strategy, war, and peacekeeping. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome the panel. And I wish to say that after they've had their conversations, they'll open the floor for questions, thoughts, and comments, both from the in-person audience and the online audience.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you today. I'm Tony Garcia, as Jacob has kindly introduced, and we are old friends and we've worked together on a few different occasions. Today it's a pleasure to be with Professor Koshelenko, also Professor Tegerev on stage. Thank you for that lovely speech and very insightful speech, Kostya. Now, you hold a very important office in the Ukraine, and you started with some very powerful words. You said, firstly, I'm a father, and you have family close to the front line, and I think that's the human story that we all can imagine, even though we cannot experience directly. On a personal level, could you maybe just mention just some of the experiences that you have had, at the start of this full-scale aggressive invasion, and then also what motivates you? And then afterwards, I'll just ask Professor Tegerev to come in with any of his own thoughts on that. Please, Kostya.
Thank you for that question. I think that our motivation and our strategy is not always connected with our roles. Sometimes it's connected with people with whom we work. And really big collective strength of Ukrainian motivates me every day. And this unbelievable international support during these 3 years of this full-scale invasion motivates me too. And first of all, this motivation inside us, inside our families. In the first day of the war, of the big war, full-scale invasion, I stand up in the parking lot bomb shelter in my house and go into my apartment and drink coffee with my family. And we see in the window and we see the sunshine, and we think that sometimes is most important things around us. When your loved ones live, when you have a chance to see this sunshine, when you know that it's important things. And in this moment you understand that first of all we need to think about loved ones, about our society, about our country, and all another things, it's things for another days. And this motivation, I think that's not only my private story, it's motivation of thousands, hundreds, millions Ukrainians around me, and for us it's a marathon, it's not sprint. And every day we try to reinvent us, we try to reinvent our motivation, and we try to be powerful as in the first day. And I think that important part of this motivation is the self-motivation, and understanding that only together we can make something really powerful. And only when we will be very efficient, and only when we try to make some asymmetrical solution, asymmetrical decision, we have a possibility, we have a chance to win this enemy, which bigger than we in 5-10 times in different directions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that insightful and hopeful answer, Kostya. Professor Tudor, I don't know if you have any thoughts that you want to come in on this particular one.
First, thank you for inviting me here. I do not have the same view as Kostiantyn has. I have visited Ukraine only once since the large-scale war started in 2022. That was the summer of 23. But just watching online videos, commentaries, etc., it is unbelievable what is the level of support that the civilian population provides for the armed forces. Not only showing respect, but also even facing themselves very hardships, difficulties in everyday life. They try to support, to collect money. I'm impressed how individual, let's say, analysts or people who have their online blogs or are on YouTube, etc., that in addition to what they speak to explain to others, they're also trying to collect money, and they focus their efforts on a particular unit in the armed forces. Someone is saying, okay, I'm collecting money, if you can afford it, please send us some money because we're buying some of those small drones, but very important drones for that particular unit in the armed forces. That is an example of the grassroots activities. In Ukraine, I visited Odessa actually in the end of August of last year, had a meeting with representatives of the ethnic Bulgarian communities, which are for different numbers, at least before the war, about between 100 and 150,000 in Odessa region, but also in Zaporizhia, Kherson, and some other places. They all came to Odessa to speak in the consulate there, and they gave some good examples how in their everyday life they want to maintain their own history while enduring all the hardships and supporting the armed forces and the war efforts and others. What I have seen here in Bulgaria also, that it is extremely important to have initiative from below, not to wait for the government to make some nice and solid arrangements for the people, but there are individuals, small groups that initiate activities to strengthen their own community. There's a particular one in Plovdiv here, very, very strong person, around one person probably, but it is growing now. They are becoming more visible in the Bulgarian society, and when they ask for some support, they're getting that support. And now what I'm seeing is that they're getting outside Plovdiv and trying to support Ukrainian communities in other cities of Bulgaria. And that comes not from the top, that comes from the bottom. This initiative and this strength of an individual becomes really important, and it becomes impactful, and it becomes contagious. Afterwards, others start doing the similar things, and that, in my view, helps a lot to the Ukrainian effort to withstand Russia's aggression.
Thank you so much for that very detailed answer, Todo. And can I build on that for a second and ask you, if I could ask you first and then for Kostia to come in afterwards, please. How important is it, because you mentioned something around communication, something coming, different messages from below, from on top. And I think that's a theme that will run throughout this conference, will be around information and communications. How important is it to provide a united narrative in times of conflict and war, both internally and internationally? If you please. And then Kostia after, please.
It is very important. I will start with a kind of a negative example from the region. Most of you remember the 5-day war Russia launched against Georgia in 2008. And the years after Russia's aggression, the Georgians were practically united. And they were seeing their future as part of Europe, as part of NATO. Russia was the enemy for several years. And then there was this oligarch coming from Russia with a lot of money, supporting a new political movement, creating a government. And by now, Georgia has this, for example, this Foreign Agents Act already in place, and the society is split very much so, and the influence of those pro-Russian circles, very surprisingly, less than 15 years after the war, is growing, and to the extent that it is practically becoming a majority on many issues. So the Georgians lost that united narrative for pretty quickly in historical terms. So it is important to have this narrative, because the Russians' disinformation propaganda is trying to destroy it. I hope that they are not successful in Ukraine so far, but who knows? And because they are, to a certain extent at least, successful in other countries that provide support to Ukraine for the moment. But this will be discussed in the next sessions thoroughly. I would say also that Stratcom is of particular value. I was really impressed the communication by the Ukrainian military in the first months of the war. You would expect that several months into the war, or 2 years, 2.5 years by now into the war, they'll manage it. But they were practically successful from the first days. And that played really a key role to explain to the society internally in Ukraine, but also to the international community, what goes on. And also shows that the importance of investing in these soft issues in developing defense capabilities. After 2014, Ukraine increased significantly the defense budget without buying any major big platforms, practically. They invested in people, even in uniforms, in training, in Stratcom capabilities, etc. And that's what allowed Ukraine to oppose Russia's forces. Not if they had, let's say, 20 tanks more or 15 planes more, that wouldn't have the same effect as had the investment in these soft capabilities, including Stratcom.
Thank you so much for that, Kostia.
Thank you. Let me start from internal communication, because I think it's really important too. Digital transformation, it's not, first of all, about digital. First of all, it's about transformation, it's about strategy. And when you implement new strategy, first of all, you need to make a clear vision. After that, to clear communication to all stakeholders around you. For me, this is my team who is responsible for our project. This is our members of parliament who need to understand why I need some changes in Ukrainian legislation to build more efficient system, to build more efficient business processes. It's my colleagues from another ministries who need to understand something about our joint project. For example, power of my system, it's not inside the system, I think. I think the biggest power of the system, it's interoperability. It's a connection with all registers of another ministries, and we can use this data, not use people with papers. And that's why I need to sell my ideas, my products, my project to those with whom we make it together. And when we talk about citizen, it's important to communicate how to use this new solution. Sometimes people say that new solution, it's something about new experience. It's hard to use these mobile technologies for elderly people, for example, etc. But we know that after some small steps in digital literacy, people can use all this service, and even from smartphone and from laptops. But when we talk not only about digital transformation, but about critical days in our country, I think that sometimes your actions communicate clearly than your words. For example, it's new full-scale war for us. Our previous experience, it's World War II. My grandmother and grandfather talk about, I don't know it personally. And in the first day of the war, we know, and all our society know nothing about war. We think that everything maybe will not be work. Maybe we need to go to ATMs to use our cash because internet is broken, because banking system not working, etc. And little mess of this we see in the first day. But in the second day, in the first week of the war, when I stay in Kiev to support my technical team and work with them to make this first payment for pensions and for social benefits in times of war. And for our people, it's a really important, it was a very important signal that state is here, state, it works. Our banking system, it works. Ministry of Social Policy works. I have my money in my banking card. That's why we have a chance to fight. We have a chance to work. We have a chance for future. And I think these signals, it's a very important communication. To make something, maybe you need to know that it's not about just keeping service running. It's really about giving hope for people. And sometimes these actions and sometimes this innovation, it's about hope. And it's really important in times of war. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Kostya. And also, Todo, we covered a lot of ground in that answer, because we moved from the ideological level, and basically what Putin is going to, maybe as an ideological approach, looking at 2008 in Georgia, we can then see some of the statues being built, we can see a different narrative being put forward, and then to the discussion from Todo about strategic slack and how the response to that invasion from Belarus and that strong response, and then to the very important internal communication. I want to build on that, Kostya, and bring it back down just onto the human level again. And your team, from what you've said, has obviously done a tremendous job at this time ensuring those service provision. And can you maybe tell us a little bit about, because I'm just thinking personally, if someone that I knew was in crisis, or if my mom or dad was suffering, or maybe passed away, unfortunately, I would struggle to perform my functions. Could you maybe just tell us how you build resilience in your team, and maybe responses from the people of Ukraine and what you did?
I think it's about communication and it's about open environment inside of team too. Because in the first day of the war, we connect via Zoom and make our first meeting. And in Ukraine, sometimes we joke that COVID pandemic is something like preparation for us, because before the COVID pandemic, we don't have tradition to use these Zoom calls, etc., for meetings, and after pandemic, every state civil servant have possibility to use it in different ways, from smartphone, from laptop, etc. And when I arranged my first call with team, I called from the basement, from this improvised bomb shelter, my underground parking lot. And part of my team called from small villages around Kiev. One guy from my team moved forward to the Chernigivska Oblast because his family think that Kiev is most dangerous place for the rocket, and in Chernigiv Oblast maybe more safety for them. Some people call for me from Irpin and Bucha, and in these times they just try to evacuate. And some of them call from Lviv. And most important in this time to say for our team that we are in different places, but we are together. We have a common goal. We have a chance to make an important job for our country, for our people. I think that we are really, our team understands that social support is maybe second priority after military defense, because it's about human capital, it's about our neighborhoods, it's about our loved ones, it's about our parents, etc. That's why all team understand what we need to do. And first weeks, it's about adrenaline rush, as I talk correctly. We work around the clock. My family live in underground every night, and I work in office every day, every night too. But after that, we understand that this is a marathon, not sprint. And we try to think about our mental health, and maybe it sounds really weird, but in the May of 22, I bought a tennis table in my floor in the office to switch on the 5 minutes to this simple game, to vanish brain for these 5 minutes, to continue with more efficient. I try to run, to make my everyday jogging all this time, with some delays, with some gaps, but, and today with Tony we run 7 kilometers. It's my way to have a chance to it's my cave, to run without it's always it's previously without people, sometimes with good people together, but always I am alone in this time, only with my thought, without any gadget, without any another activities. I think that sport, it's a good solution for stress relief for any people, different sport, for yoga, marathons, running, tennis. Sometimes we think that it's we don't have time for it, but it's a mistake. When you don't have time to sport and don't have time to relax, your result not be better, and you just quit after 1 month or after 1 week or after 1 year. But you know, it's a third year of the war. And we're really grateful for our partners, because we understand our partners have their own lives, their whole families, their whole problems, and you support us 3 years. And even in Ukraine, we understand that we need to work in this marathon. I am very open with my team, and my personal room in my office today is not personal room. It's something like war room. We always work together in this wide table, and it's all about a lot of meetings about every topics, and it's about short non-formal communication. Maybe more than 1 year, every Friday we try to eat pizza in my room in the lunch together, just to non-formal communication on the different level, from specialist to deputy minister, to talk about how we live. I have an example. When I talk with one my colleagues, she have problems with their productivity, and I talk with she about it, and I see that she's crying. I ask, why are you crying? I don't ask something hard. When you have problems with your task, I support you. I give another people who support you, etc. It's not problem. But she said, I cry not about that. I'm cried because in my house where I live now in Irpin, Russians killed 3 families. And I always think about these families. I don't have possibility to think about my job. And this mental pressure and this trauma around us. And I think that for manager in these times, it's important to work with this trauma, to work with traumatized people. And this is the key to move forward. And yes, we need to remember that we are not a supermans, we are not a superhumans, we are not robots. We work with human beings, and we try to understand mistakes, we try to understand sometimes result without good performance, and we try to manage this situation. And I think it's my solution, but I need to say that every month something changes, because first month it's adrenaline rush. After that, it's understanding that we can win. After that, it's waiting for military support and opinions in society that we have problems because we don't have a weapon, for example, etc. And you always need to understand this microclimate around you, and your actions, your communications will be aligned with this microclimate, because it's in one hand, long war is one day. One day, it looks like one day. One day without ends, without start. You just working. In another hand, it's a really era of the war, with different situation, different meanings of the people, different opinions in the society. But when you have a goal, and we have an important goal for us to win in this war, to save our country, that support us. And yes, this is really huge international support us too, because we understand that our enemy is really big, our enemy is very huge, and only with support and understanding with people from another country, with people with the same values with us, we can win this war. Thank you.
Thank you, Kostya. And thank you for sharing that story about the trauma, and we acknowledge that point, and I'm sure many people here will share that our thoughts are with you and with everyone there who are impacted by this. I want to pick up on your point around waiting for the military support, and I'm going to pose this question to Todo. How important is that military support ultimately is important for the strategic balance in the conflict, and how important is it that countries keep up to date with technological invasion in terms of matters of defense?
Well, I'll try to answer that one, but first let me take from what Kostiantyn just said, because here in Bulgaria, but basically in the West, we underappreciate the importance of human capital and what Ukraine is doing that. We're all the time discussing weapons. It was Javelin and other anti-tank weapons, then Leopards, Abrams, Bradleys, and other fighting vehicles, howitzers that need to be provided, all that to be repaired. The ammunition discourse has been there for a very long time, that Russia prevails to a large extent because they have 10 to 20 or more times even ammunition to use in every day. Now, later F-16s, etc. I have been personally participating in at least 7 or 8 Ramstein meetings, most physically at Ramstein Air Base, but some online meetings, and that's the discussion always. This is the importance. Air defense systems, missiles, how many, who give what, etc. But Ukraine, of course, Ukraine needs that, and it is indeed very important, but what Kostiantyn mentioned is this long-term view, the marathon view of the war. And if we take a historical look, it has always been men in their 20s to fight, primarily. What Ukraine did is different. Ukraine decided to leave all young men to study in universities, to finish their courses. Even initially, the age for mobilization was 27. There was a big discussion to lower it down to 25 years, but basically the young, strong men are left to study, possibly, hopefully, to create families, have kids, etc. This is exactly the long-term view, and then to bring them to the front. I'm really impressed by this long-term view, because they're under such pressure, but they're thinking for the long future. As for the innovation, really there is an impressive, you can call it ecosystem or environment to support innovation, because the war needs it. Many of you remember this is the Bayraktars for the first month or the first 2 months of the war. There were even songs about Bayraktars, how effective they were. After 2 months, no longer, because the Russians found the response to that. They found a way to counter that, and now they continue to be used. They're good. It's a good asset, but used for other purposes, further from the actual line of contact between the militaries of the two sides. Then we had some cases of using drones, then those cases increased and increased and increased, and now drones are used probably more and to a higher effect than artillery, the classic artillery, especially the FPVs. The number of drones Ukrainians have created is, I don't know, really impressive. It's dozens of types of drones of all of different sorts. I believe you have seen in the news what happened yesterday with this ammunition warehouse, like 600 kilometers from the front line, that was destroyed by Ukraine, not using any Western weapon system, 600 kilometers. And I guess this is true that Russia held there like 30,000 tons of ammunition of different sorts. Can you imagine that? That's probably certainly more than 300,000, probably around 500,000 of ammunition, and the whole European Union had this ambitious project to produce 1 million for a year and did not succeed. And Ukraine destroyed in one day 500,000 Russian ammunition with this innovation. Then but that's, we need to understand that this is a process, and it's a highly dynamic process. Ukrainians used in the last days, no more than 2 weeks ago, these drones that kill drones. And they say, okay, this gives us an advantage, expect that the Russians will have the same capability in a month or two maximum. So we need to come up with something else in the next 2 months that really requires such a speed in innovation, in designs, in production, in the way of using that equipment, which has no historic precedence, as far as I'm aware. Okay.
Thank you so much for that. Kostiantyn, I'm not sure if you want to add anything to that, and then afterwards I would like to open up to... Yes,
Yeah.
please.
I'm not a military guy, you know, and I try always to talk about my zone of responsibility, my domain, but you need to know that in Ukraine today volunteering movement is very powerful. And many of us, after our job, have some military tasks. For example, I am certified drone operator, and my 12-year son too. We work with DJI drones, with FPV drones, and yes, it works. We try to collect money to buy these gadgets for our colleagues. We in Ukraine always have friends who are on front line. People from our office, people from our families, our neighborhoods. For example, my last drone, which I buy and give to the guy who works as a music producer in a peaceful life. He is a music producer in Kyiv, but now he is a military guy, and he talked to me very frankly. Kostya, when I have my small military mission to move in this forest and fight with Russia, I have with Russian troops in this small forest. I have two ways. One way, I give my rifle and go into this forest. Another way, I give my drone, and my drone with grenade fly to this forest, and it's very useful. I remember from my business school, from Kyiv-Mogila Business School, that we need to think globally and act locally. That's why we always, in different positions, we try to do our best in our main position, but we try to make something positive in our free time for our warriors, for our and it works, because yes, we have a lot of big partners abroad. Yes, we're waiting for new military equipment, weapons, etc. But sometimes specific department, specific soldier needs something specific. And we together try to buy this night vision, for example. It's not needed to everywhere, but in the night you are more safer when you have this night vision. And we try to buy this. It's not standard ammunition for all soldiers, but we try to buy in person to all soldiers who we know in this way. And I think that this is some kind of private state partnership in times of war, because even with this big, sometimes not organized, sometimes organized volunteering movement, we support our enemy. But when we talk about global activities, I try to see to activities of Ministry of Digital Transformation and the Ministry of Defense. Ministry of Digital Transformation starts some activities, for example, Brave One. This is ecosystem for innovative companies who try to build drones, not only flying, but riding, but boats, etc. And this is something like, in normal life, we talk about this startup incubator. This is startup incubator for military startups. And yes, we have investments inside Ukraine, we have investment abroad Ukraine, and now Ukraine, it's a perfect sandbox for new technologies in social sphere, in military sphere. It's a country in war, country with big pressure, and it's a good way to start to make something and after that use this solution in other countries for defense of another countries. And yes, we try to attract every partners to make something in this direction with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for those points. Despina, just in terms of time, do we have a few minutes to open it? Thank you so much. Could I ask if there's any questions from the audience, if you could just raise your hand and introduce yourself, and then the question afterwards. Yes, please, sir.
My question is to Kostiantyn. Obviously, we all are impressed with what Ukraine is achieving during the war. But when it comes to digital transformation, actually you were successful even before 2022 with DIA and with all the arrangements. My question is how you were able to solve the main problem we are still struggling with. Have enough people that work for digital transformation and make it a success in all aspects of life. I'm asking this question because obviously the success of digital transformation before the war is one of the key instruments to really maintain high level of resilience during the war. So it is not just for everyday life, it is crucial for the success of Ukraine in the war. And second part of the question is more idea. In 2014, we were discussing in Bulgaria how we could support Ukraine after annexation of Crimea. We ended up with the Trust Fund for Rehabilitation of Veterans from War, because there was real war already in 2014 in eastern Ukraine, and there were many military people coming to Bulgarian recreation bases. Do you think from the social policy point of view that we could deepen this cooperation and really have more Ukrainians coming from here for rehabilitation and really use their knowledge, meet with Bulgarians and try to transfer a little bit of motivation even to our people that are far from war and don't understand that actually we are at war as well? Thank you.
For this question, I'm start from second, and we really appreciate this support, and rehabilitation is it's really important. You know, this night for me is rehabilitation too, because when you have a night without air raids, it's even a time for good sleeping. But without jokes, we're very grateful for support with rehabilitation of our warrior, but not only warrior. I know, and we're very grateful for government of Bulgaria to rehabilitation of our kids. And this is why I need to say thank you to Bulgarian Ministry of Social Affairs, and we really make it together, and our colleagues was in Ukraine this spring to talk about social support in Ukrainian, in the European Social Ministry Summit. And yes, it's important part and this is important part of supporting of Ukraine's rehabilitation of our veterans and our kids. Very important. And when we talk about first question about digitalization, digitalization before the war, it's about transparency, it's about democracy, it's about efficiency, it's about accessibility, accountability. But in times of war, it's about all these topics too, but it's about safety too. Because in times of air raid, you have possibility to use your gadget, smartphone, laptop, even from bomb shelter, to make application to the social support, to ask state something, and it really works. It really works. And I need to say that this digitalization, it's a big part of program of President Zelensky when he comes. And I think that very big input in this story make President Zelensky and Mikhail Fedorov as our vice prime minister who is responsible for digital transformation. How it works in Ukraine? In different ministries, we have Chief Digital Transformation Officer. This is my position. And we work closely together. We don't only work on task of our ministry. But we try to collaborate. We try to find some kind of joint project to make more efficient not only one ministry, but all government, but all state. And yes, it's work very good. We try to build a center of competences. From the beginning of this year in Kyiv works CDTO campus. It's some kind of business school of our Ministry of Digital Transformation. They attract international lecturers. They make a lot of courses for cybersecurity, for client-oriented digital solution, for digital transformation framework, different topics. And this is really our inner business school for newcomers who try to work as a Chief Digital Transformation Officer. And I think that after the war, it's important too, because it's not only about force majeure services. It's about efficiency of the state. It's about possibility to make a really clear decision without people. And I think when you compare private sector and government, we always have possibility to find something interesting from private sector. My background from retail banking very supportive to me in this role, because not private banking, retail banking, because automatic decision for loans works in Ukraine more than 10 years. And we know that automatic decision, it's not about efficiency, it's about anti-fraud solution too. Because we don't have any people who make decision to give money or not to give money. And it's about scoring, And now we try to build this approach in social benefits, because when you know that we have IT system without any bureaucrats with whom you need to talk about your needs and about this subjective decision, etc. It's about trust to the state. It's about trust to the government. And I think that it's very supportive in times of lack of manpower. It's not only Ukrainian problem, it's a big Ukrainian problem, but it's a problem for all of us. We have a lack of manpower in different spheres. And digitalization, it's one of the solutions to make our lives more convenient, more efficient with this digital solution, and without people on paper, non-creative, not interesting job. Yes, in 21st century, all people try to work in creative spheres, make something interesting, make something valuable. And for us, digitalization, it's a way to automate it, not interesting job for our human capital. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You happy to do that? Yeah. We have a question just at the back, Despina. If you could please just introduce yourself and then the question, please.
Hi there, Patrick Kios from United States. Deputy Minister, you had a very important point about the mental aspect of this prolonged war and how maintaining the mental health of you and your staff was critical. But in that pursuit, did you look into any mental well-being applications, digital services for the country, for your team? And if you decided to either pursue them or not pursue them, what were behind the security considerations of that decision?
Thank you. I like it. We have a really lot different application in our phone for yoga, for mindfulness, and some of them really works. And even we have some local Ukrainian application, and a program of our First Lady Olena Zelenska is web-oriented too. It's not application, but website with solution for people how to support yourself. It's about simple exercise. It's about simple things when we need to do. I don't try to demonstrate here, but sometimes very small action with your body support you to move forward in a more efficient way. I don't use it because I find my magic pill. It's jogging. But I know a lot of people who use this solution, and yes, it really works. And it's important because it's about automation of function where yesterday we don't have possibility to work without people. And psychologist needs money, needs salary. And when we try to hire psychologists for all of us, it's really big budget, and we don't have any psychological company or social service provider to work with all of millions of Ukrainians, for example, and millions of Bulgarians. But I think that this self-support, it's a key. And another important key for us, it's not about digital, but it's about resilience center, which I talk about. This is centers when we work with groups, not in personal, because we don't have personal psychologist for any Ukrainians. But we can work with group. It's a different groups. For example, group of people who have a problem with growing of their kids. It's a support of their fatherhood solution, etc. It's a group with people whose parents now in the front line. They have some the same problems, and with support of psychologists, after that after this meeting they connected and support themselves and support another people in community. Yes, thank you for this question. Digitalization is the key too. Okay.
Thank you so much. I think we have time for one or two more questions. Are there any more questions from the floor? Yes, please.
Thank you so much. It's truly impressive what Ukraine is doing. And I think we, not only in Bulgaria, but the whole world has to learn a lot. One of the narratives, though, that probably Ukraine is not commanding very well is the corruption narrative that you mentioned. And you obviously have advanced a lot, but it's been one of the areas that has been used to reduce support for Ukraine in the West, in the narrative in the West, and especially something that we'll talk later about these influencers, etc. One of the talking points against Ukraine is we shouldn't help Ukraine because it's a corrupt country and the money is being squandered, etc. And my second half of the question is, so one is Ukraine fighting in the narrative space about corruption, but the other thing is corruption in Russia. Because I was listening to Mark Galeotti, a podcaster who talks a lot about Russia, and his hope for the downfall of Russia is Russian corruption. So, so in a way, can we decrease corruption in Ukraine, and can we increase corruption in Russia? That would lead to its downfall.
Thank you for this question. I love corruption. I love corruption in Russia because it's corruption connected with their warehouses, with their broken tanks, and with their broken society. It's good for us, I think. I think it's one biggest part of our victory is Russian corruption. When we talk about Ukraine, we need to understand some things. We are post-Soviet country, and some tradition and some approaches come from Soviet Union. Moreover, Ukraine from 90s connected from Russia is different supply chains. and I'm working State Property Fund 3 years ago. And now we work in privatization in very transparent manner, via auctions, etc. But privatization in 90s, it's not a transparent privatization. It's a communist bosses by enterprises where they work. It's hard. I remember this time. I was young, but I remember it's a hard time to understand that your country is not your country. It's a country of this old communist. But I think that sometimes it's about cliché, because we think about this previous situation and think that today this tradition continues. I think that's no. And first of all, I need to say that I'm working for the government for 5 years before private sector. I drive in my Jeep Compass 10 years all this time, and I live in apartment 55 meters with my family. I don't buy any assets, etc. in this time, and that's why I thinking that I need to finish all my project maybe during one year or after the victory, and after that come to private sector, because I need to work for money too. But if we talk about corruption as for me, if you are a hammer, you always see nails. As the guy who is responsible for digitalization, in my opinion, I'm not working anti-corruption government body, for example. I'm working in digitalization. But digitalization, it's a way to transparency. In transparency, it's an anti-corruption solution. I know that in private sector, corruption was too, not only in Ukraine, but in private sector, they call this is internal fraud. And in private sector works different people, but a system of limitation, controls, anti-fraud system, it's a possibility to work with it. And in government, I think, digital solution, transparent analytical systems, automatic decision-making, it's a way to cut corruption, because when you don't have a chance to make a decision for money, you don't have this money. It's about all business processes inside the different states. And I think that we need to make digitalization as deep as we can, because computer don't try to find a bribe, I think. And as example, in December of previous year, my ministry built transparent electronics system of humanitarian aid, www.good.gov.ua. This is fully electronic system for humanitarian aid via our border. All humanitarian lorries are counted in this system. We understand about which NGOs or which another organization use some humanitarian support for some targets, and this all in one public register. Only military issues we closed for public eyes because of war, but all another humanitarian aid we see in this system. And this is what I said about we can share our experience. I think that for maybe it's not useful for Bulgaria today, but for countries with humanitarian disasters, for countries with war, it's a good solution, first of all, to make accounting of humanitarian aid inside the country. For another way, to make automatical reports for your partners to understand where your support is. And now I think from December 2023 it works in Ukraine, and we open to share this experience. And another point, I think that it's about culture of openness. One of my favorite books is Ray Dalio and the Principles of Ray Dalio. And Ray Dalio said that radical transparency is a way to good efficiency and to good communicate with all stakeholders. And as for me, this system, it's an example of radical transparency, and this is about trust, this is about transparency of this humanitarian aid, and this is about very fast decision making. Because if you have a data, you have possibility to make a fast decision to make something. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think, yeah. Thank you so much, everyone. I think you'd all join me to give a big round of applause to Professor Koshelenko and Professor Tagarev, and thank you very much.